So I couldn't put in the backrooms for lore reasons.
You mean the
so
backrooms from
naturally-
TikTok?
Why am I even doing this?
No,
man?
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. All right, that's enough. That's enough. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you to the both of you for coming to this interview and taking time out of your day to hang out. We have ourselves Kane and Corrupt for this interview. Both of you are major players in the most recent episode of The Oldest View, which is amazing. And I guess the first thing that I want to ask the both of you is, you know, how it all started. If you can kind of go all the way back to the very beginning. It sounds like it's been in the work for a long, long time. So yeah, just go ahead and let me know any information that you can, that you're allowed to talk about at least. Open mic. You guys can go ahead and take the floor.
Yeah. First off, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information to divulge. Where would I say the starting point here is?
I recall seeing an image of the giant a long time ago, and I wasn't sure what the hell that was at first, but I mean, obviously I know now. Is that where it all began, or did it start before that? If you can kind of give me some sort of idea there, because I'm really curious on you know, what kind of kicked it off for this series, because you know, you were working on the backrooms, and The Oldest View at first it didn't really seem like something that was liminal space, you know. But then all of a sudden the second volume dropped and everybody was just like, oh, okay, we're back in liminal spaces again. So like,
we're back.
Yeah. So what exactly, you know, kicked it all off for this series to get to the point that it's at right now?
Yeah. So that image you mentioned was sort of the initial spawning point for all of this.
Okay.
Sort of in a similar way that the backrooms image was, or maybe not similarly. I'll get to that in a moment. But I came across this image. I imagine you'll throw it on screen for people viewing who aren't familiar. But it's of this bizarre, uncanny statue in a what looks to be some sort of dead mall. When I first saw this back in, I believe it was summer of 2021, it was sort of, I know it was after I wrapped the Attack on Titan videos, I first came across it. I think that was around the time I first, it was like the window between my Attack on Titan videos and starting the Backrooms found footage, the first episode.
No way.
So in that period, I was sort of consuming a lot of liminal space media. I hate using that as a buzzword. I feel like it's a bit overused. But
yeah, no, I gotcha.
It was around that time that I was watching a lot of like strangely familiar places with like eerie music, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that ultimately culminated in me doing the Backrooms short in November of 2021. But along that journey, I came across that image of what we now call the Rolling Giant in what we now know to be the Valley View Center, the Valley View Mall in Dallas, Texas. But at the time, it was just a standalone image. There was really no context for it. I believe I found it on like r/liminal spaces on Reddit. I really don't know. It only had a few upvotes, if I recall. But I saved it, kept it on my computer, kind of forgot about it. And I believe it was in December of last year, of 2022. I sort of ran into it again, and I had seen it a few times when scrolling down through my downloads over the months. And but for some reason, when I ran into this thing, it was right after I finished Damage Control. I was starting. It was right after I finished Reunion. I think I was like in the early stages of writing or planning Damage Control.
Okay.
But I found this image again on my hard drive, and for whatever reason, this particular time, it just sort of, the curiosity got the better of me, and I did a deep dive, reverse image searched, did whatever I could to figure out the origin of this image, and ultimately I was able to figure out that it was taken in the Valley View Center, the Valley View Mall in Dallas, Texas, and from there it really wasn't too difficult to piece together the context behind this thing.
Yeah.
The Julien Reverchon Rolling Giant. And I'll get to all of this in a moment. The context will sort of unfurl once I speak on The Oldest View a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was a strange process because, and this was honestly my favorite part of the whole production, I guess you could say. Just the research exploratory stage was tremendously enjoyable in a way that I haven't really felt ever before. Like it was a strange feeling I got from this.
Would you say that, that feeling that you're getting is just because it was very, very new and it was just untapped territory for you, that it was just something different? Is that pretty much where it goes?
Yeah, it's, as you can imagine. I mean, I see a lot of scary media in my day to day, like just in my feeds and everything. I mean, I don't consider myself like a huge horror buff, but for whatever reason, the particular that one image of the giant, the initial one that spawned this, it really just like it got under my skin, not in an abjectly scary way, but in the same way that I feel or distantly remember the backrooms image getting under my skin back when I saw it in 2019. It's just kind of a feeling that isn't fear. It's like it felt childlike almost, sort of a like fear, but also curiosity. And really that propelled me to figure out what this thing was. And so I remember like one night, it was really, I think it was New Year's Eve actually. It was raining really hard, so it was very atmospheric. I came home from like a party with some friends, or like I left the party and I was alone, got on Discord, and I sort of shared some of my initial findings with a group chat, which included Corrupt. It was small, probably around like 4 or 5 people. And it was just sort of a niche little hobby thing that I'd done for the past 2 days, just try to figure out what this thing was, find other images including this thing. And they got on board, sort of explained everything to them. And I remember there was some... Do you remember, Corrupt? Do you remember if... I feel like there was not a lot of momentum there initially. I kind of had to like hammer home that this is something you guys should care about. Look at how weird and uncanny this thing is. I mean, everyone did get on board, and now it's just sort of become a obsession, and we kind of forgot about that stage. But I remember some people found it kind of annoying that I was bringing it up so much. But
why do you think that was the case, though? It was that just because of the way that it looked? Like, it doesn't look like it can hurt me?
No,
or?
I don't know. I think it was just they just weren't giving it much thought. It was just, oh, here's Kane with a random internet thing. And I think once here's the thing that I think really changed it for them. I'm remembering more as I speak on it now. It was the sort of realization that this uncanny thing existed out there in the real world. It might not exist now because the mall's dead and being destroyed. And it exists in all these photographs across the internet, except we have no idea where they are. We have no idea where this thing is hiding on the internet because you can't look up the tag rolling giant, Julien Reverchon giant. That's not a thing. It's such a localized niche entity.
Yeah.
That there's no way to track it using keywords or anything. And we didn't want to go to the artist, partially because it just, I wouldn't say it feels weird. I think it would have been totally acceptable to speak with Kevin about that at that stage. But I think more so I just didn't want to kill the mystery of it. I liked that hunt feeling I got.
Yeah.
And so yeah, from January through March, we had I think every weekend we would usually go on Discord for up to 6 hours.
Oh, wow.
A night, just tear through the internet, go through old Facebook pages, Instagrams.
Just for the giant, or
just for the giant.
It was really entertaining.
It was so much fun, man. Seriously, I nothing quite compares, and my words aren't doing it justice right now. And but it was such a compelling feeling. And ultimately, we sort of got all the obvious ones, got all the not so obvious ones, and then we were sort of left with a collection of 30, 40 images of the giant. Most of them fairly blurry, compressed, grainy, whatever, because they're not always the centerpiece to the image. Sometimes they're just a dark blob in the background of someone else's photo.
Yeah.
But we'll take anything, really. We would find a giant, and I would just start screaming my head off. It would
yeah, one
it was great.
like a reflection. It's oh my god, there's a giant.
Reflected giant isn't a real giant. That's
yeah.
You haven't read the Giant Handbook. Not to get long-winded on all this.
Oh, please, you're fine.
What would be the next relevant place to go with that? But for me, it was on one level, it was like eating me away inside. Just the image of it was so off-putting, as I've said many times. It stuck with me. I would see it late at night, like standing on the other side of my house. It's so big that it's just hard to like just seeing that thing in person is super alluring to me. I think most likely because it doesn't exist anymore, and that's not an option. I can't just go there and see it. So,
oh wow, I thought it was still around, or has it been demolished?
No, it was confirmed to have been gone down with them all. We found images in the demolition footage of it in ruin.
Oh my god.
We can't confirm the head was completely scrapped, but the body was scrapped and the head was deformed. So really, that's I for a little while in January I was considering like trying to find a way to put this thing in the Backrooms series, because obviously that felt like a logical choice. I have a successful series going built on liminal horror, as much as I hate to use that term.
Yeah, no.
And this thing fits right into it. But the limitation there is that there's no logical justification for it existing in the storyline. It felt like I was just shoehorning something in, which is something I really try to stay away from with my work.
Yeah.
One, there's just no. It would be like I could maybe put it in as a prop in a strange area and just have them look at it and move on, but there's not really any place in the story for it to exist. And beyond that, there's definitely no way for it to be supernatural in any way, because that would totally just alter the canon of Backrooms if it was moving around on its own and whatnot. But that sort of led me to realize I can't put it in Backrooms, so now I have to, I don't have a choice, I have to make a new thing regarding this giant. And it felt very, even in Backrooms, and I'm jumping around a bit here, even in Backrooms, it's still the context of the giant. Shit, no, I can't say that.
Yeah, you want to stay away from
spoiler. That would be a spoiler.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, you don't need to cut this. You don't need to cut this. That's fine. But see, I have to tread carefully, guys. You don't get it.
No, it's all good.
There's
so many landmines.
I'm sorry.
That
was perfect. I fear for your life, Corrupt.
So I couldn't put it in the Backrooms for lore reasons.
You mean the Backrooms from TikTok?
Why am I even doing this?
No, I'm sorry. All right, that's enough. All right, there you go. You couldn't fit it into the Backrooms.
Yeah, it wouldn't fit into Backrooms. So, but I was desperate to do something with this image for multiple reasons. Both because I felt felt so invested in this in the giant at that point. I had sort of gone on a bit of a epiphany bigger than you would expect from this regarding a bunch of different things, which again I can't get into for story related reasons, thematic and whatnot. Just about the bigger context to the giant, I guess. And it sort of it was burrowed in my brain. I couldn't get rid of it. The only way to do that would be to make this series. So this was sort of the natural result. I wanted to make something that was true to reality, not just turn the giant into some just generic monster.
Yeah.
It's very important that the oldest view is derivative and running parallel to the world that we live in right now, right here. In the oldest view, and I feel like this is I care about this very much with all of my work to an extent, but particularly with the oldest view, it's not so much something that can be solved in a tangible, what would be the right term here, sort of film theory kind of way, where it's not as simple as ghost of Julien Reverchon possesses Giant,
Right.
chases and wants to kill,
which
and,
I
like,
have
possess or
heard
whatever.
that a lot of people. Yeah.
Oh my lord.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, well, that's not unreasonable. Like that's kind
true.
of
That's
what
true.
modern horror leads people to like. Most people aren't interested in rewatching the video 30 times and finding all the little things. So if they're enjoying it, then that's amazing. And who am I to judge their interpretation? But I will say that the real point of this project is more thematic in nature, I would say.
Yeah.
And I know Wendigoon has had some takes that I feel are fairly close to my intention. Obviously, like there is still a more material story running alongside here, like Wyatt, like all the things that happened with Wyatt and whatnot. That is still a beyond just theme. Those are actual characters and stakes and everything. So that does exist, but it's not the point, I guess. Pretty early on, I think in March is when I had a pretty clear idea of what The Oldest View as a series would be and what the intention was. And I've just sort of used it as a cope to say it's just a personal project. Like it's very much just scratching my own creative itch. I feel like there's some truth to it, but I feel like it's also a crutch to lean on when your work is sort of relying on vagueness, ambiguity, and just when it's generally hard to follow.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how most people will interpret that, and to an extent I agree, but at the same time I do believe that a lot of my process here has been purely to entertain myself and like my sort of I guess scratch the itch I've had with this. And incidentally, with The Oldest View Part 2 and 3, it resonated with a lot of people as well, and
Absolutely.
they seem to be getting the same feeling that I had, and I think that's just incredible, and it couldn't make me happier. Backtrack to TOV1 real quick. I think this is useful context.
Yeah.
That episode, I guess I didn't really have high hopes for it on YouTube, and it sort of ended up going the way I predicted. No one really was that floored by it, because what is there to be floored about? It's sort of something that works better in hindsight, and I'm seeing a lot of people coming back to it now with TOV3 out.
Yeah.
Now that they understand Julien and the Giant and
Like,
all that.
Okay.
but initially, I saw a lot of people with the sentiment that, like, Kane, this is just you being vague for vagueness' sake, and everyone's calling you a genius for it. You're using this as a crutch, and you're being too vague with your vision. And so yeah, that sentiment I was talking about a moment ago. So that was generally the takeaway for most people. It's like, cool, but also, what is this? I don't have any reason to care about this.
Yeah.
TOV2 is a lot more tangible, has an actual story you can follow. I feel it's way more compelling. TOV1 is, I'm not arguing, it's some
It's
compelling
different.
work of art. It's just a necessary, ominous opening.
So thank you so much for just laying all that history out. That was amazing, man. And it just takes so much hard work to get everything just put together, even from that point, pulling everybody together and having group chats and everything, and people not really being on board at first, maybe, I don't know, and then you just having that vision and continuing it. And then eventually, when you get to this point now, we get to this huge mall, which, by the way, I was actually at that mall back
Oh yeah, you said that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I used to do a lot of traveling in the Midwest and even in Texas and through Dallas. And I had a couple friends there, so whenever I would visit, we would actually go to the Valley View Center. And and it's so weird to me. Yeah, it's so weird to me because I went there, and that was sort of like when I was experiencing the whole, hey, I like empty places that feel weird, like that give a vibe, but I didn't really have a name for it, or I wasn't really aware of the name liminal or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember seeing the Giant though. Like I don't remember that.
Do you remember like what time frame it was?
I think when did the demo? I know that in 2000.
The Giant was
2014 and 2015, they took down some of the mall already. I think maybe.
They were whittling away at it for a long time.
Yeah, I was there. I visited probably 2014, I think.
Giant was there.
Yeah,
he was there.
That's so weird. That's so weird.
He saw you. He saw you.
He was moved in like 2012. I'm pretty sure, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, 2012, right after the.
Yeah, I do remember. It was just like super empty, and it. There was another mall that I had visited in the past too, which was over in I think it's close to like Washington D.C. or Virginia, and the same concept. You know, there was like barely anything like that was alive. It was just, you know, a couple of storefronts. You got a hat shop here. You got these little like kiosks in the middle of the hallways of the mall selling you jewelry and shit. And then you've got the food court, which barely had any food in it. It was just like a Chinese restaurant, a Sbarro, and a Chick-fil-A, and that was it. But it also had a mural, just like the octopus thing, and the mural was all the way on the other side, and it was like at the end of the escalators as well. I remember that. But for Valley View Center, like I remember going there and just, I do remember art. I remember talking to my friend Eric at the time, and I was like, there's like a lot of art here. That's really, really cool. So for me, it was almost like this became, I kind of labeled it as the art mall, because there wasn't anything else but attention to that. And so that's it's weird, because when I was first watching The Oldest View 3, it didn't hit. It didn't click. And then after I finished recording it and I posted it on YouTube, the reaction and stuff like that, it dawned on me. I was like, I've been to this mall before. That's why it's so surreal to me. And you guys did a fantastic job. It is incredible. And that's, I just want to know how that was all created. And there's a lot of people, I've seen a lot of comments where people say, oh, there's a mixture of real video and an actual render done in whatever software that you guys are about to tell me, hopefully.
Blender.
In Blender? Okay. You know, like, kind of tell me, like, how was that created? I just want to know. And I don't know if Corrupt, you want to kick that off, or if Kane, you want to.
Hello.
Hey, Corrupt.
Well, I kind of started working on the mall by myself in like February 23rd.
Okay.
And because Kane, like, he showed the idea of the rolling giant, and then I actually modeled like a small like part of like a random mall image, because I had like a little obsession with malls after he told me about the rolling giant. And once we figured out that the giant was stored in the Valley View, I kind of just like started recreating it, because I really like recreating stuff. I find it really like, it's kind of like enjoyable to me to be able to preserve locations and images by recreating them.
Oh yeah.
In Blender.
He's great.
So yeah, I kind of started on the food court in February, and then I worked my way up from there. And then Kane asked me if he could use it for TOV2.
Yeah. Initially, it started with just the food court, like the fountain, that structure with the escalators, and we all sort of pooled around it. It was really cool. We would just he would work on it while we were in voice calls. And then I forget exactly when this was. It was in March, early March, maybe late February, that he shared that blend file with me. I went through, and this sort of set a precedent for the way we would collaborate on this whole project going forward.
Gotcha.
He would send it to me, then I would go in, texture it, because he's just doing the modeling work. Like, and you can explain your process a little bit more, Corrupt, but I believe, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, it's mostly pool. Like we've all been able to like pool together a giant archive of images of them all. Like, they're hard to sift through because there's so many, but I think there's an image of like every place in the mall.
Yeah,
that
almost
folder of like 1,000 images. Like, way more than 1,000. So took that, Corrupt would line it up.
Manually. I
Yeah.
didn't use any software. I just did it
Oh,
manually.
you didn't use FSpy or anything?
Nope. I just.
Oh, nice.
It actually just. Yeah.
That would explain. There are a few points where like you kind of just had to interpolate a little bit. But yeah, you did a brilliant job with that. I have no idea how you didn't go insane with how tedious a job that is.
It was
That
really
mall is
tedious.
massive, though. Like,
It's fucking massive.
that's to me, yeah. So there's everything is Blender, right? Like
Yes,
100%.
everything.
Yeah.
The
See,
whole.
and that's
all
why I'm
that.
telling. Like,
Everything. Yeah.
I had a bunch of people even on TikTok. No, there's real video. I was like, dude, like, what? No,
Yeah,
no, like,
You
There's
might have
so-
seen, but oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, there's so many comments with like people like denying that it's like a 3D software. They're like, no, this has to be real footage.
So yeah, the way we really built them all was Corrupt would build out the geometry of a specific section of the mall, starting with the food court, like the fountains and everything, and then if you can, and then I would go in, texture everything. A lot of the textures are custom, modified from different texture libraries out there. Some are just photos taken, but I would go in, do that. Like do all the textures and then do a pass of props, plants, detailing, like the fountain plants, for example. Like go in, fill all the pots with dirt, then plants, then texture all that. And so really, by the time I was done with that, Corrupt had done a new little modular section of the mall I could
that's crazy.
glue in, and yeah, through that, like once we sort of got most of like the food court area sort of built out, like sort of that was around the time that I was able to do TOV2, because at that time the whole mall hadn't been fully.
You just had that
reconstructed.
one section there where you could see the
Yeah,
escalators.
that was the atrium food court area that was
That's so cool.
done. The ceiling, I don't know how you did the ceiling then. But yeah, went through, textured all that, added all the little ceiling lights, fire sprinklers, stains, not all the props, but a handful of props. And really, I think you get the process at this point. It continued to all the different wings.
Yeah.
It definitely got much slower, I would say. When did you finish your work on the mall? Like that was July, like
that was
June,
July 4th. Like
July 4th. Yeah.
I got home after like a firework viewing.
Oh yeah, I remember
Finish
that.
it up.
I remember that. Yeah, so that was when you, I believe, sent me the last section of the mall that you modeled.
The very last piece.
What was that last piece?
Oh,
I
the
think
last piece was what
was
wing
it
is
the?
called?
I think it was
It's the one
the
with the
LBJ exit.
yeah, it's the one that had the Forever 21 shop. I think.
Forget if that was. Well, it's either the Foley's wing or the LBJ parking exit. Whatever. It's one of the ones that Wyatt doesn't go into.
Okay.
He just sees. I think it's the one where the light goes out.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it
With
is.
the thunder. So did that, and then oh my god, it was a bit of a hellish process over the summer, just going through and because there's so many more custom textures once you get beyond the atrium, and that just took a billion years, getting all the custom props and everything. Then of course making sure the lighting works, making sure I'm not overloading my GPU with all the varying lights in different parts of the mall, because it's if you want to have everything on at once, that will melt your computer. I had to lean on render farms pretty heavily with this.
Are you
whole project.
still using the same equipment from?
Yep, same laptop.
Jesus.
So this thing has served me well.
You're gonna keep that thing forever. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's kind of like your good luck thing from this point forward.
what I said about the last one until the fan stopped working and it melted from the inside.
Oh my yeah.
Did I just screw it
It's
up
not
for you?
gonna happen
My
this
bad.
time. That's not gonna happen this time.
Okay.
This one's different. So yeah, I think that really explains the process. Then as I was working on the actual movements of the Oldest View 3, once Wyatt exits the shop and goes along his path through the mall, I would sort of, dependent on what he gets close to, what he looks at, I would sort of order props in a certain way, upscale certain ones, fix the texturing so everything looked fairly photoreal under this up-close scrutiny. And so that's not to say there's chunks of the mall that are totally low poly and whatnot, but I definitely put a chunk of time into making sure that like the specific path he follows was more fleshed out than the rest.
Yeah.
Which is normal, of course. So that was kind of it. Like,
I do want to ask though, the movements. So a lot of people are curious on how that's achieved. The realism of the movements, is that done through? I know that you have a mocap suit with you, right? I don't know if it's something similar to
that was not used.
That wasn't used. Okay, you achieved a really nice like fluid movement, and it's like so human, and it doesn't seem uncomfortable. Doesn't fuck with my eyes or anything like that. So how are you able to achieve that?
I appreciate that. It's a combination. Same with backrooms, although this one's a bit different since it's an iPhone trying to emulate that look. It is a combination of hand keyframes and tracked camera motion recorded by brilliant VFX artist Ian Hubert, who I believe many people in the community are familiar with. He shares a lot of valuable tools to the Blender community over on his Patreon. And this one plugin I've used for a couple of years now, of course on Backrooms a bunch, sort of just, I can hand keyframe the whole sequence, and I want to make clear that the plugin isn't just carrying all the weight there. You really need to do a lot to make it look right, especially when you're walking, doing all sorts of dynamic movements.
Absolutely.
But without that, it would look very stilted, robotic. It's sort of like a pass to put over the whole thing, like it adding imperfections to it all. Mm-hmm. So that combination and just going back and forth in the MoGraph curves editor, just tweaking and retweaking and just spending hours getting the graphs for each movement parameter to look right. That was sort of it. So it was tedious, but it's also kind of a fun process because I feel like I'm able to shut my brain off the most in those sequences. Like I block it out. Like I just put the bulk location keyframes of why it needs to be at a certain time. And then I just go back through all of those while listening to something, some like documentary, interview, whatever.
That's so cool.
And just like make it look more fluid and natural. So that's fun.
Corrupt. What would you say? And thank you, Kane. I appreciate the walkthrough through that. The walkthrough of the mall. It's got again. You did a fantastic job with that.
Thank you.
And I wanted to ask Corrupt. So Corrupt, what was the hardest thing, the hardest part of the mall to create? What made you just super mad? If you get super mad or frustrated, like what part of the mall was like the hardest for you to recreate?
Probably like almost every wing, because you got to get so many images of all like the shops and everything. Just basically the mall. Yeah. And then just lining it up. Sometimes it could be like really annoying. Like I'm trying to line it up and my mouse had like a little issue. This is before I bought a new mouse. I have a new mouse now. It would like freeze sometimes, and when I'm trying to line it up, it would just like freeze and unfreeze, and I'd be like a million miles away from the mall. The camera. Trying to line up the reference with. So yeah, I feel like lining up the reference cameras, the images was the most tedious part.
That was the most tedious part. Gotcha. But that was just because of the whole mouse thing. But for the mall itself, the whole mall was the hardest part.
I guess, yeah. You have to recreate all these shops. It's like 100, I guess. Like basically nearly 100. Maybe not 100.
Do you have anything to add to that, Kane? Or
no, honestly, I feel like I agree. Most of them all is pretty proportionately difficult, I would say. I don't know. It's all you did a very good job making everything uniform, and I really appreciate it.
It's so realistic.
Like, all of the I was able to reuse like the same gates over and over again because you made sure that it was all sort of everything was proportional, and I appreciated that.
It's
very well optimized as well. Good
fantastic
meshes.
Work, yeah. When the mall shifts over to like that darker abandoned theme, Was that you, Kane, that did that, or was that also Corrupt, or was
Yeah,
that a
That
mix?
was all.
that
Kane,
was me.
That was all you?
basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ah, that was
And
so cool.
I don't pride myself on being a VFX artist, I guess I should say.
Mhm.
Like it's
What?
not my
What?
I mean, I just it's sort of, I feel like I've hit a point a couple years ago with backrooms, like with the Attack on Titan historical footage videos, I guess,
Mhm.
where I've the curve of learning has fallen off pretty steeply.
Mm.
Where like, I mean, I still pick up things, but I just feel comfortable in my current skill level, and I'm able to get by, sort of make whatever I feel like making, and
Yep.
it's not mind-blowingly photoreal, but I'm not trying to make it that. Consider myself a director. I care more about the story.
You're more into the idea of like just kind of setting the stage and then making it as realistic or photorealistic as possible as the character passes through it, you know? That's pretty much what
And yeah, I like, I don't like dwelling on the technicals of the location, which is funny because that's exactly what we're doing here.
Yeah.
But with backrooms and everything, like I just kit bash. I do whatever I can to get the environment that I envision and is necessary for the scene, and I'm not too hung up on making sure that I've fully optimized everything, which is unprofessional, but I'm not claiming to be professional here. So directing and story beat pacing and everything is sort of more my focus. I went to lengths to make sure why it was a deliberately uninteresting YouTuber. And I wanted it to be authentic. So like, it's really hard to grab people's attention, but also try to make it as uninteresting as possible at the same time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because again, like, it's not about the spectacle. It's just
I
about
feel like if the aim was to make a how do I say this, a YouTuber that's struggling to become more than they are right now, and they found something just huge, and the whole idea of, I don't want to tell where this is, I don't want to tell anybody where this location is yet, you know. Well, you nailed it, because it's like, hey, they're really struggling. They want to gain a bigger audience, you know, their internet buddies, you know, they want that, but it ended up biting them in the ass at the very end,
yeah.
or so we think. But I do have a question. In the scene when towards the end, when it's all mangled, it's a mangled mess in the mall, you get that one spot where the light flashes and you see the silhouettes. Are those other giants from the parade?
Mm,
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, that's a good answer. I'll take it.
Maybe
but-
my smile says something. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll let everybody decide on their own.
No, I actually lied about all of this. Like, I don't make the blend files. Corrupt doesn't make the blend files. They just appear on my hard drive, and I render them. And I don't question what the voices say, because like, they keep me afloat. Why would I?
That's a whole nother problem now that we have to deal with.
Mhm.
What are the voices going to tell you to do next? Jeez. I remember a while back when we had our first interview regarding just the backrooms in general, and after the news of the movie and everything, we were talking about the reception and how it was starting to fall on the laps of other people who aren't really aware of liminal spaces and that sort of genre. Are you seeing that again for The Oldest View? Are you seeing it more or than the backrooms, or less?
Way less.
Way less? Okay.
I mean, that just goes with the view count. But it's different. Obviously, if you just look at the views, they're much lower than really many of my backrooms videos. Some of the later ones sort of tapered off, which is understandable.
Mhm.
But undeniably, The Oldest View is a slow ball to get rolling. I have another video, a little one I'm going to put out. I'm just waiting on some sync license rights for some music.
Okay.
to get that on YouTube, but I hope that will sort of signal boost the Rolling Giant. Of course, it's a 50-minute video and it's a part 3, so that's not the most clickable thumbnail in the world for newcomers.
Yeah,
but
no, I got you.
But whatever, that's not really the point. It's more of a long-term investment, and just kind of, I just wanted to have made it. I definitely don't see myself making any kind of financial return on this thing. I'm going to be in debt from this for a little bit, which is all cool, worth it if you ask me.
Sometimes it's like that.
Yeah, it's just like that.
Sometimes you just gotta make something to feel happy, even if it costs you a bunch of money.
I would be insane right now. I would be locked up. I would probably be in a hole in the woods in Dallas, like in a tunnel. If I would be like in that hole, someone would find it, and I'm like down there trying to rebuild the giant out of sticks and stones. And well, this was the only way to appease him. With that said, though, despite it being less popular than the Backrooms videos, I would say it has had by far I don't want to say by far, but it has had, I would say, the best reception out of any of my videos ever.
Okay.
Which has really floored me.
I've heard.
I was hoping for a reaction like that. That was kind of, I mean, I felt it like a project taking that long. I felt myself learning new techniques while I was making it, so I wanted to believe that it would be my best work, directorially speaking. And I feel it's definitely the scariest thing I've made. I've had many people say it's the only thing I've made that's actually disturbed them, which is
interesting.
Just an incredibly high compliment. I really appreciate that. But then more so, it's just been so worth it, and it's just been incredible to see comments from people who recall, and these are few and far between, and now I'm not sure how many of these are even truthful, but I know initially in the first 24 or 48 hours, I believe most of these are authentic, of people accounting or sharing accounts of like seeing the giant when they were younger in the mall, like Dallas locals and whatnot. And even for people who didn't necessarily see the giant, just people who went to that mall every week, some people who even worked there. I know one person who had the studio across from Kevin O'Bregan's studio, is active on Reddit, and they've seen this, and it's they've been reposting stuff about it, and it's just so cool to see how it's reaching back to all of these real people who interacted with this real place at this time. And sort of a lot of the intention was kind of, I had those people in mind. Like they had, like, being one of those people and just clicking on this video, having no expectation for it, and then realizing that this was their mall. Most of you can probably sort of get a sense, even if you have never been to the Valley View Mall in your life. I have a feeling it resonates.
Quick question. There is going to be more episodes coming.
There is more planned. The intent is to make more. I just can't guarantee when. I'll get to that because
you've got a movie to make.
Film.
Yeah,
I've got a movie to make.
You got a movie to make,
which is still unbelievable.
And how's that going? The production of the Backrooms movie. I got to ask about that.
Fun. Yeah. Currently working to get a final draft of the script. Roberto and I.
Nice.
I'm having a lot of fun. I think I might be sort of killing him a little bit.
Really?
I'm
running circles around him.
It's a lot of fun. Just a lot of notes and a lot of back and forth and a lot of time. But that's what it is, and I love it. And it's all I've been thinking about the past week, really.
That's so cool. So that's awesome.
Because we've only in the past week or so really started back up with the writing process. Just given the strikes and everything. So yeah, but we're close to having a finished script, so that's very exciting.
The next question that I had was sound direction, and just audio work. How is that all put together? How much of a pain in the ass is it? I can only imagine. I mean, is that like, Kane at 3 a.m. just using an Adidas jacket and shuffling it against a mic, or running a mic against like the wall or something, or breaking cinder blocks, and like what's
kind of Kind of, yeah, that kind of sums it up. I do sound last for the most part. Like there's two passes on sound, well, three, I guess I should say. There's ambience, just room tone, drones, all that sort of stuff. And then I usually group like music cues, like ambient music cues, in with the ambience pass. And then below that, there's stock sounds that I'll get from Splice, is my main provider, which is a great platform. I recommend. This is not a plug, but that's like things like maybe doors opening, more specialized sounds that I couldn't necessarily replicate myself, like running on a metal grate, like you hear at the end of TOV3 when he's running up the emergency exit pathway. Things like glass breaking, you get it. And then the third pass, and by far the most excruciating fucking pass. Oh my god, I was going insane. I had to do all of the Foley sound work within like 24 hours.
What?
Yeah.
Yup.
On a 50-minute video. Because I don't want to say TOV3 kept getting delayed because I never committed to a release date. I only ever gave like my audience like estimated release date.
You were going
but
nuts.
the estimate kept going up, and they got, as they do, very rabid, very fast.
Yeah.
And it sort of came down to the weekend of was it Saturday the 8th? Yeah, Saturday the 8th. October. And that's sort of what I committed to, like really committed to. And we were getting there and it wasn't done. And I just had to keep tearing through, like just not sleeping, just stonewalling this thing until I finished it. Yeah, the last, I didn't even mention this, honestly, but the last, I would say all of September, good half of August, and all of October, I was doing like, maybe not all of August, like September, October was like solid 16-hour days, pretty much. Like I wake up, do nothing but work on TOV3.
Oh, wow.
And then go to bed. Like it's no room for, I mean, I got a lunch break. I gave myself a lunch break.
I'm proud of you.
And I went outside. I went outside a few times. Surprisingly, I survived it. But it would not be done by now if I had not kept up with that. And so that was really grueling. But in the end, it was like that on overdrive, 24 hours, just like tearing apart heaven and earth to get final video uploaded on YouTube.
Yeah.
And everything was done. All the visuals were done. All of those sound passes were done. And I just had to do Foley in the last 24 hours. And that includes all the voice work. I forgot to mention. So I had to do a pass of the whole episode with my feet on the ground, like recording footstep sounds. And the more and more you add to Premiere, the laggier the timeline gets. So I had to like, break it up into subsections and everything. And all of these have like a million effects on them. Yeah, but like you have to go through for the full runtime of the video, pretty much like just walk in place in sync with the footage, and then do multiple takes if something messes up, and then like you squeak your foot too loud and you have to like mix that down, but it's laggy, so it takes 5 minutes. So you do that, then you do a pass of like you just standing in place, just shuffling your jacket, and like just running into walls and stuff. And all the while, I'm currently in like a smallish office space, and I have to have my computer fan off so it won't get picked up on the mic.
Oh man!
But it was also out of nowhere this weekend. That weekend, the heat went from like average of like 60s whatever to 90 fucking 5. And I'm in here with no AC.
You were dying
with a fan. I had to turn my computer fan off, so the computer starts overheating, and I'm dying. But it was so worth it. Like that feeling of like dying, but like also being productive. Like the final crunch time where you feel like you're going to die. That is the only time worth living for.
A racing heartbeat. I gotta finish this right now, or I'm gonna.
Yeah, it's 24/7, or not 24/7. It's 24-hour adrenaline, just through the roof. You can see the matrix. Nothing's better than that feeling. I always get it leading up to a video release.
That's awesome.
It's great. That's what you live for, among other things. But yeah, did that, and then finally went through and did the voice work. That was sort of like the last pass, or I think I jumped around a little bit depending on like if I could get my computer to cool down and whatever. I'm getting into minutia now. But
that's crazy though, that you had to kind of like bounce back, between, your computer like crapping out on you and then going into something else, and then having to section things off due to the size. Like, that's insane. That's really really hard work. And I'm just imagining you just like shattering glass, and actually falling off the emergency.
I was in that place. That's what I had to do to get that screen.
Did you? Oh, so you actually fell off the emergency exit? It's like,
yeah, I went to the Valley View Mall, 2015.
That was like the scream was really well done. I even said that, I think, during the reaction. I was like, that was a really good scream.
I'm glad
explain
people.
The process.
You don't want to know the process.
So all of the frustration, all of the jumping around, and all of that culminated to the scream and all of those feelings. That's why it felt real. I was like, this man is dying. They are dead. They are dying in real life. I don't know how, but like that was such a real scream. And now I understand. Now we all understand. After all of that hard work, you just want to just scream. Some people scream into a pillow, but no, you scream into falling off the emergency exit at AMC. And
yeah, I didn't realize the mic was on. That was after I did a take of running on the floor, and like my foot squeaked again, and I got angry, and I just did that scream, and I was like, "Hey, I can repurpose this."
Are you serious?
I'm joking, of course. Okay. I'm joking, of course.
I was about to say.
I'm glad we got a chance to clarify that, because I feel like some people
are like, "Oh, it's because." Hey, in this scene, it's going to be like in Lord of the Rings. And here, in this scene, Kane broke his toe, and that's how he ended up screaming this hard. Oh, man. But yeah, it was...
No, that's not a broken toe scream.
Yeah. Broken toe screams are something else. I'll tell you that right now. I know. They're really bad.
I don't want to imagine.
No, you don't. So regarding the audio, I also want to talk about the soundtrack and what was involved with the soundtrack, or who was involved with the soundtrack, because... as far as I know that you've worked on it, but there was other people that were involved as well. So if you can kind of elaborate on that, I'm really interested to know, because the music was fantastic all the way through.
Yeah. So the soundtrack, I guess you would call it, the score, the stuff that Wyatt doesn't hear, that isn't being caught on video, that was done by myself. It's pretty much my standard process with backrooms and everything. Mm-hmm. I'll score in FL Studio. A bulk of that's up on my YouTube channel by now. I think there's still a little bit I need to release, but mostly that's like ambient droning stuff, and then it'll escalate when the giant appears and whatnot. The TOV3 is pretty low key music wise. But the other side is the mall music that you hear, the stuff coming, like being piped in, and that was super fun to just edit. Even though I didn't make any of those tracks, I did try making some, but I just decided that why not pull from existing libraries, given that's kind of the nature of music, and I'm not exactly an expert with the genre, and I don't have time to become one. So let's just use other people's stuff. Yeah. Royalty free, of course. So that's what makes up a good bulk of the music you hear there. But the first track, when the lights turn on, that was actually done by Josh Augustin, which I believe I'm pronouncing the last name right. I don't know how else it could be pronounced, but I've never gone to say it before. I've only read it in my head. But he is one of the two members that makes up the band Vansire, which some of you may or may not know. They're indie, semi-well known, but they're Josh worked exclusively on this. It was just him. But sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I was able to get in contact with him a couple months ago. had a really nice interaction. He's a awesome guy. Just really easy to talk to, receptive. And I reached out to Josh and sort of flew the idea by him, like, hey, would you be down to maybe compose a little mall music track for this film I'm working on? And to my luck, he was very into the idea.
Sweet.
And just a couple weeks in, he already had something, despite how busy he was at the time. And so that was amazing. And it sounded great. And that's sort of what you end up hearing in the. I think that actually is the first version he showed me was the one that got used here. So we might be doing a more touched up version in the future.
Okay.
I think he's mentioned he's working on that. I can't speak to that, but it'll be released when that time comes. The demo version is out now, but it's not like perfectly mixed or anything. It's made with the atmosphere of the mall in mind, all the reverb and whatnot. So it's not the most pleasurable to listen to on its own, I would say. But it was amazing getting to work with him. I've really admired his work in the duo he's a part of, Vansire, for a long time. I don't like to pick favorites with music, but I would say they're probably my most listened to band. And yeah, Vansire, Josh Augustin, really cool. Go check out his music. Go check out their music. Whatever. Go listen to all of the music. It's great.
And we'll put a link in the description below so people can go ahead and check them out. That music was phenomenal. And if that's any sort of indication on their quality, then I definitely need to go swing by and see what they're all about. Corrupt. After the success of The Oldest View Part 3, what are your plans at this point? What do you want to transition into? What do you want to work on? Do you want to work on your own videos as well and or provide, more amazing sets and things like that? I guess you can kind of like give me an idea as to what your plans are.
I've tried like making my own videos before in the past,
Mhm.
but I think what you said about like providing sets for other people, I think I'm realistically more leaning toward making things for other people because I have done it in the past before.
Okay.
And this is just like an amazing opportunity to create an entire mall because I really enjoy recreating environments.
Mhm.
Now, what's your Instagram handle again, Corrupt, so people can go check you out?
Yeah.
It's all lowercase, corrupt number 15, corrupt 15.
Corrupt
Yeah,
Corrupt
that's my
15,
Instagram.
and we'll put that in the description as well.
And I'm curious, I guess we haven't fully talked about this before. Are you looking to go into the VFX industry in the future, or some version of that, the game world, maybe?
Maybe like more game-ish maybe because I have worked with a few games before in the past, but like kind of just like small projects, nothing that's like too big, just like some sound design stuff probably, and then
Gotcha.
some modeling. But yeah, nothing too big, but maybe I guess that's an opportunity.
Well, cool. Yeah, you definitely have the skill set for it.
Once again, thank you so much to the both of you for taking time out of your nights. I know that you're super tired, busy, and everything else in between. Your hard work is being noticed, and I hope more and more people see your series. It's always a blast, and I hope that we get another chance to do another interview, maybe include some more folks. That would be an absolute honor. And of course, it was an absolute honor to have the both of you here with me tonight, different time zones. So thank you once again, guys.
Likewise. Thank you. This has been awesome.
Yeah, thank you.